Welcome to In Focus. In tonight's episode, we will discuss the recent escalation along the Israeli-Lebanese border that followed Lebanese drones targeting Netanyahu's residence. Elsewhere, the U.S. presidential election approaches as the race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump heats up in crucial battleground states. Stay tuned. Fighting has raged today on two fronts as Israel targeted what it said was a Hezbollah command center in the Lebanese capital Beirut. According to the Israeli Air Force, the military conducted an intelligence-based strike on a command center of Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters and an underground weapons workshop in Beirut. The strikes on Hezbollah's South Beirut stronghold came after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused Hezbollah of attempting to assassinate him by targeting his residence. On the other side, Hezbollah said that it launched rockets targeting an Israeli army base east of the northern town of Safed. Hezbollah fighters fired a big rocket salvo at an Israeli army base east of Safed, adding that the attack was in defense of Lebanon and in response to the Israeli army's attacks on villages and homes. Additionally, over 160 rockets have been fired from Lebanon into northern Israel, according to the Israeli military. Following the assassination of Hamas's top leader, the New York Times highlighted the recent escalation along the Israeli-Lebanese border. The newspaper reported that fighting escalated in Lebanon as the Israeli military targeted several areas outside of Beirut in airstrikes that covered the area in clouds of dust. The resurgence in attacks came after Hezbollah warned of a new and escalating phase in the conflict with Israel. Providing more analysis, joining us from Beirut is Mr. Suruj Apikian, political researcher. Welcome, sir. And in your opinion, how do you assess the recent escalation along the Israeli-Lebanese border? What does this signify for border regional stability?
Good evening to you and to all your audience. I believe that these are advanced war phases. It's natural as long as Netanyahu achieves consecutive wins and achieves goals, he will continue in increasing the pace more and more. Today, I see that he is insisting on this, despite of the direct Iranian interference, not only through Hezbollah in the war against Lebanese territories, or through the resistance on the Lebanese territory against the Israeli invasion or incursion in Lebanon. This is clear through the statements of today and yesterday in the diplomatic talks of Iran, that any solution for the issue of Lebanon, either at the level of the application or the implementation of the international relevant resolutions or the ceasefire, Iran will be the one negotiating for this, because the war decision in Lebanon from the side of Lebanon is Iranian decision. This is a new thing. Hence, Last week, we have watched movements in Julan, so we are confident that Israel will increase the pace in the Lebanese and Syrian areas. This happened indeed. We also see in return that Hezbollah striking Haifa. So this is also advanced strike. So the pace of the war in terms of goals is increasing more and more. This is the reality.
I will take from what you said, sir. In your opinion, why does Netanyahu insist on fighting on two fronts, even after the assassination of Yahya Sinwar?
Assassinating the leader Yahya Sinwar has many indications, but the phase of the war now, and the war will have many repercussions even on Palestine, and it will have repercussions in all the axes. I can definitely say that nothing changed for Israel except for making progress or delaying in some phases. However, the losses happening on the other side, Iran decided to go these wars and to confront through its influence and through its supporters and allies and its arms in the region. Just like the US and Israeli decisions, which is direct war, not a proxy war. But today we see that Iran is interfering, which means that the front lines of Iran are not as comfortable as it should be and require interference by Iran. So the assassination of Sinwar, regarding it, I'm sure that Hamas will get an alternative without not mentioning whom. And there will be disagreements on who to lead Hamas. This depends. Either the upcoming period will include political resistance or military resistance or both. There is no specific answer to this up till today. These are the repercussions. But I believe that the field movement and military movement go in line with the diplomatic movement, which means that we have reached advanced phases and the following phase will be crucial, or it will be an assertive or assertion phase until the end of the war.
Well, after Sinwar's assassination, many Israelis have called on Netanyahu to seize the moment and strike a deal with Hamas. Do you think that he will finally listen to them or not?
So both teams are extremism. Hamas is right-wing extremism group and Netanyahu is right-wing extremism prime minister. But it's a state and an organization. No states conclude deals with the organizations because organizations have more freedom. They can disrespect their agreement or dishonor the agreement and return to the resistance work, which happened before. With Netanyahu, who is extremist, I don't think that he's ready to conclude any deal with anyone, especially that the other parties, either Hezbollah or Hamas. For Netanyahu, they do not recognize the Israeli entity. So how can we build relation or make an agreement with anyone who does not recognize Israel? On which basis? Another thing, that is Hamas ready to conclude a final deal or agreement with an entity that they do not recognize? I doubt this. But from the Lebanese side, if the matters develop to the point of agreement, the situation will be easier because first, the state will be in the place of Hezbollah, will replace Hezbollah when it comes to negotiation. So in Lebanon there is a state, but in Gaza, unfortunately, there is no Palestinian state, and we hope to have a Palestinian state. So a state may negotiate and agree on some things, and maybe the exchange of hostages and the end of conflict. But these are not final agreements that are obligatory, and both parties would respect until the end. And mutual recognition from both parties, actually I doubt that would happen, because any Israeli agreement with Hamas movement will lead to maybe a phasal result, not a final result.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. That was Mr. Serouj Apikan joining us from Beirut, the political researcher. Thank you very much for your insights. And as the U.S. presidential election approaches with just 17 days left, the race between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump is reaching its peak, with polls showing a tight contest. Swing states remain crucial.
We will build what I call an opportunity economy.
We will make America great.
We're ready to fight for it. As one people, we are moving forward.
We will make America safe again.
Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are taking sharply different approaches. The Guardian reports Harris is energizing voters with celebrity support from Lizzo and Usher, focusing on rallying younger demographics in key swing states like Michigan and Georgia. Lizzo emphatically declared it's about time for a female president, while Harris criticized Trump's policies, urging her supporters to go all out in the final days. In contrast, Trump's Pennsylvania rally took an unusual turn as he went off script, sharing a story about the late golfer Arnold Palmer's anatomy, overshadowing key campaign issues. The Guardian notes that Trump's unpredictable style contrasts with Harris's more focused efforts as both candidates fight for critical swing state voters. Today, we are joined by Mr. Nouman Abu Isa from the Democratic Party and Mr. Eric Brown, strategic analyst from the Republican Party, to dive into the latest updates, strategies, and issues shaping the final days of this heated race. Now, I would start by asking, with the current polling numbers, Kamala Harris holds a slight lead over Donald Trump, but some key swing states like Arizona are showing Trump gaining ground. Now, Mr. Nouman, how do you see these polling trends impacting the Democratic strategy? And this comes in the final stretch. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, good afternoon, good morning. This is, I guess, the race is considered neck and neck. There is really polling showing slightly ahead for Democrats or slightly ahead for Republicans, but the Democrats are calling it equal, and they are putting all their efforts to mobilize the base of the Democratic Party to encourage young people and women and minorities to go to the polls. Some of the states already start voting by remote places right now, and we are encouraging all Democrats, all people to go to the polls and cast their vote to have as much participation as possible. So those pollings are not that meaningful at this point of the game. There's only 2 weeks left to the end point of November 5th, where the election day would be, and they are working hard on those 7 swing states, basically north and south, and they are mobilizing all their celebrities. Previous President Obama has been speaking on the trail, as long as others from the Hollywood and other industries to try to mobilize to support Kamala Harris.
Yes. Mr. Eric, Trump's campaign is focusing heavily on swing states like Pennsylvania and Arizona. From a Republican perspective, how significant are these states to Trump's chances, and what makes these particular regions so crucial?
Yeah, well, these regions are crucial because these are the battleground states and have been for some time. They're states that give examples of the division in American political thought today. But those states are all trending in the general direction of Donald Trump. And the reason why is because regardless of what faction you may be from or what segment of the electorate, every American knows that the country is on the wrong track. That the leadership that we've had has not been sufficient and has not been working. There are a number of economic issues, primarily inflation, the cost of goods, the cost of living, illegal immigration, the rule of law. All of these things culminate in a change dynamic for the election. And Harris has been ineffective in demonstrating how she would do anything really differently than what her boss, Joe Biden, had done. Whereas I think the voters are pretty clear that Donald Trump would take the country to a direction of strength, stability, security, and prosperity.
Well, Mr. Nauman, Harris recently gave an interview on Fox News reaching out to moderate voters. Do you think that this strategy will be effective in appealing to undecided voters, especially with just over 2 weeks remaining?
Yes, the undecided voters are the crucial vote bloc, which will swing the vote one way or the other, and that is what Kamala Harris is concentrating on right now. Those independent and other middle of the road, I guess, voters, they are the ones who will be swinging the vote from one side to the other. Also, she is concentrating on some of the Republicans. Some of the Republicans, like Vice President Dick Cheney and others, have endorsed Kamala Harris, and some of the Republicans are not happy with the presidency of Donald Trump, including his own Vice President Mike Pence, who had the nugget along with the president. And there's many conservatives who care about this country, and they don't think that presidency of Trump will be the right what the American society needs at this point. So they are endorsing Kamala Harris, and Kamala is reaching out to Democrats, independent, and Republicans.
Back to you, Mr. Eric. Trump has been known for his unconventional rally style and his ability to connect with his base in a unique way. How do you think that this will play out in the final days of the campaign, especially after facing technical issues during a Detroit rally?
I think you've identified actually the key strength of Donald Trump as a candidate is that he says what he's going to do and he does what he said that he would do. That's really the number one test for a politician. You know, for a long time, regardless of party in this country, we've listened to people who have complained and said that they want someone who's an outsider, someone who's different, someone who could be effective and break things up and isn't afraid to ruffle feathers and make change. Donald Trump is that person, and he demonstrated it when he was president. If you look at the multitude of factors that were arrayed against him and his ability to still be effective as a president when he was, I think speaks well for what he would do when he becomes president again after November 5th.
Well, one of the hot topics in the past week has been immigration. Mr. Nauman, how do you assess Harris's stance on immigration, especially in light of the bipartisan criticism of the Biden administration's policies? Will this issue sway voters in your own opinion?
Immigration is a big factor in this election. The majority of Americans are concerned about immigration policies and what's going on. There is two sides to this equation. The immigration at the borders, where the current administration tried to secure more funds and from the Congress, but the Congress, siding with Donald Trump, refused to give the additional funds to hire more policemen, more security guards, and more resources to control the borders, and that is reflective of their support for Donald Trump instead of supporting our own country. The other equation of that, there are immigrants in this country, and the Donald Trump wants to deport them. However, I guess the current administration is trying to normalize some of the existing immigrants in this country who has been born, educated in this country, and to give them a path to citizenship, and try to attract the minorities, including Hispanic and other minorities in this country, versus the Vice President Trump. He is against immigration. He's attacking immigrants, calling them all kinds of descriptions, dehumanizing them, and that is going to backfire on him with the minorities in this country.
Okay. Mr. Eric, there has been renewed controversy surrounding J.D. Vance's reluctance to fully acknowledge the 2020 election results. How do you think that this could affect Trump's image among moderates and independents?
Well, I think this is just another trope that's been brought out in an attempt to just grind away at the same failed messaging. Everyone knows that Joe Biden has been the president on the days where he's actually been working. But I just want to go back quickly on this immigration issue. The president is not anti-immigration. The United States brings in
I'm sorry, I'm unable to hear you, Mr. Eric. I'll try to get back to you again. But now I will go back to Mr. Nauman. Now, Harris's campaign has enlisted celebrities like Lizzo and Usher to help energize younger voters. How important is this strategy to increase voter turnout? And do you think that it will actually resonate with less politically engaged demographics?
Yes, many American, I guess, are concerned about with culture more than politics, and the politics in this country has been hard on many people's ears, and then they want to look into more cultural issues, and that's why I guess the young vote is overwhelmingly supporting Kamala Harris in this country, especially after the Democratic Party has switched from an older generation to a newer generation, and that mobilized the young people and also women in this country. So those are the two demographics which are heavily going to vote Democratic, and Kamala Harris is doing what she can to mobilize this sector of society. Many Americans stay at home and do not go to the polls, and then what the Democratic Party is trying to energize, create enthusiasm to get the people to go and vote now and on November 5th and anytime in between. So this is the crucial component of the demographics where the Democratic Party is really concentrating on, in addition to minorities in this country, and she is trying to reach out to those in any possible means, including social media, regular media, and paid advertisement. So she is working on all fronts to get the base mobilized and encourage others to vote.
Okay. Mr. Nauman, I'm still asking you, looking at Trump's approach to voter mobilization, how does this, his unique campaigning style differentiates him from Harris's more, I would say, regular or structured approach?
Yes, Kamala Harris' structure is measured and structured, as you mentioned. She is reaching out to the educated part of the society, Most college graduates vote Democratic versus non-college graduates are voting for Trump. Trump uses emotions in his mobilization. He tries to hit on satisfying the emotional needs of the public, and he talks off the cuff sometimes, and he does make mistakes. And also Kamala Harris is trying to mobilize and capitalize on those mistakes because he talks off the cuff and he does not have a structured plan. He's been asked about his plan for the economy, his plan for foreign policy, and he has not been able to present those.
Okay, I will go back again to Mr. Arik. In your opinion, your expectations for the coming days, how things will go in the upcoming days in this heated race?
Well, I think in the coming days there is going to be an effort on all sides for both of the candidates to mobilize their voters. I think that especially among those that support Donald Trump, they are looking for his leadership to return to the White House in order to help take this country in a direction that's positive. And that's not just based on emotionalism or trying to break apart the electorate by certain segments and put people into a box. It's about growing and unifying a movement that wants to see a greater America, a more peaceful world, a more prosperous opportunity for the future.
I'd like to thank you very much, both guests, Mr. Nouman Abu Isa and Mr. Arik Brown, for sharing your insights today. Thank you very much for being with us. As the U.S. presidential election inches closer, it's clear that both sides are leaving no stone unturned in their efforts to sway undecided voters and secure a win. We'll be, of course, keeping a close eye on the next 17 days as the race tightens further.